And a really good frame I heard about this one day is that, like, imagine all of your employees. They went off to like wherever in the world for like 6 months. And then they call you back and they said, hey, I'm returning from my trip. I'm excited to come back. And it's up to you to determine if you bring them back on or not, right? And the frame was like, how many of those people would you let back into your company? And I thought that was interesting because sometimes we don't look at it like we have an opportunity here to reset. Sometimes we're held hostage by our team, especially providers, because it's just like, if I fire this person, I might not be able to get another provider in here. So we sometimes feel a little stuck. Or if I fire this person when you're stuck in a producing role. That's why I love getting owners out of treatment, because when you guys fire somebody and you're stuck in treatment, I know this is how I felt. It's just like, oh my gosh, now this is going to cause more work for me to do. And now I really won't be able to get out of treatment because I'm going to be stuck here. But the opposite is true. If you're able to identify someone who's a little bit less core values and productivity, and you remove them quicker and you bring in a rock star, well, then you're able to go faster with your goals because it's noticeable difference. Maybe I'm the issue. That was a question that was recently asked to me by one of our owners inside of our program. He said, well, maybe I'm the issue. Maybe we're the issue. We had a lot of, recently we were, end of the month, we kind of ring the bell and we say like, hey, share your big wins and so on. And it was just go boom, 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 boom. A lot of wins were popping in, all-time highs in revenue and visits and evals and all these things. Hire new employees, open a new location. And then I had one owner reach out to me and he said like, hey, I'm seeing all these wins. And I know that your program works. I know that what you're doing with people works. However, like I'm not getting results. And maybe I'm the problem. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of owners wouldn't have that self-awareness that like, maybe it's not a you guys thing, maybe we're an issue. And so we hopped on a call and we started to look at maybe there was an issue here. And maybe it was a product issue or a service issue. And I wanted to show you guys on this video kind of like how we walk them through this and what you guys can do too to identify like, do we have a product issue or do we have a people issue or what does this look like? So going over to our board here, the biggest thing that you need to understand that whenever we're looking at like, and this is the thing as an owner, right? So as an owner of the company, like we are constantly looking to either do, our job, our responsibility is, can we grow 20% each year or more, right? And we have to have 20% or more profitability, okay? So if you are growing 20% year over year and you are profitable 20% or more year over year, then you have a really nice juicy business for someone to want to invest in the future, right? Now, what happens is like, and I always love this whenever I say like 20% growth. Like some people are like, oh dude, we have like 150% growth, 420% growth. It's like, well, yeah, you went from like, no money to like 40K a month. But eventually what happens is once you're hitting like 83,000, which is $1 million run rate, then it starts to slow down a little bit. Okay. Unless you are slamming like, 3 to 4 new providers each year and opening like 1 to 2, possibly 2 to 3 locations. Like the math just, because, 20% growth, if you have $1 million location, right? So you have $1 million location or $1 million business. Well, in order for you to double that up and grow, you have to add 200K to your business. And then eventually you have to add like 250 and eventually you're going to have to add 400K and it just starts to go, could be going quick, could be going a little bit slower. So just a heads up there. Now, the thing is that, the reason why I wanted to mention this is this individual was just like, hey, I don't know if we have a good product, right? I don't know if we have a good product. And I will be as firm as I can be on this, is that if you want to have a good product, okay? And we say products, but realistically it's like service, but this it doesn't sound as cool when I say good service and then good people. So good products, good people, right? Now, I used to say people equals products, but then like somebody was just like, it sounds like, anyways. So I have to say good people equals good product. So the first thing, if you ever feel like you're having a product issue, I always kind of look at my team. And the biggest thing that I want to look at here is that like how many tier 1, how many tier 2 employees do we have versus like tier 3 or tier 4s. And a really good frame I heard about this one day is that like, imagine all of your employees. They went off to like wherever in the world for like 6 months. So let's just say that, you hired somebody and they've been with you for a while and they went to like, I don't even know, like Bali for the month or, for 6 months. And then they call you back and they said, hey, I'm returning from my trip. Excited to come back. And it's up to you to determine if you bring them back on or not, right? And the frame was like, how many of those people would you let back into your company? And I thought that was interesting because sometimes we don't look at it like we have an opportunity here to reset. Sometimes we're held hostage by our team, especially providers, because it's just like, if I fire this person, I might not be able to get another provider in here. So we sometimes feel a little stuck. Or if I fire this person when you're stuck in a producing role. That's why I love getting owners out of treatment, because when you guys fire somebody and you're stuck in treatment, I know this is how I felt. It's just like, oh my gosh, now this is going to cause more work for me to do. And now I really won't be able to get out of treatment because I'm going to be stuck here. But the opposite is true. If you're able to identify someone who's a little bit less core values and productivity, and you remove them quicker and you bring in a rock star, well, then you're able to go faster with your goals because it's noticeable difference. So when we're looking at this thing here, it's just like, well, how many tier ones? These are people with high core values and high productivity. Like, how many of those people do we have in our clinic versus how many people with high core value? Like, they love the company and they're all about it. They're just a little bit low on the production side for whatever reason. Maybe they're new and they just need to get trained up. So a lot of times what I like to do is just like, how many of these people here do I have? And then how many of these people do I have, right? The ones that are highly productive, high core values. And then what we're looking to do is try to eliminate people that are tier 3s and 4s, which, they're the ones that have lower core values, but either they're highly productive, which is a tier 3, or they have low productivity. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You just remove these people from your business. These ones here, we might have an opportunity for them to just get re-onboarded. So if you re-onboard them and set the expectations for what good looks like and how to behave in your company, usually there's a chance for them to kind of respawn and eventually become a tier 1. But if you have no clue, if you have a tier 3, these are the people that well, if the company let me go, good luck, because I do the job of 3 people, right? So they do the job of 3 people, but they let everybody know. Okay, so first thing we want to look at is people. So in this person that we talked to did have some people problem. A really quick test for this is we call it the dinner table test. Basically, when you're sitting down at the dinner table, whose name keeps coming up? And that's a really good indication that you probably have someone in your company that you need to move out, okay? The other kind of test that we do, so there's the dinner table test that you basically say if you're sitting there and it's just whose name keeps coming up, that's a red flag, especially if their name keeps coming up. The other thing is I saw on a survey once, it said who is your best employee? And you had to write it in. And then the next question was who's your worst employee? It's it's haven't thought about that. So when you're kind of forced to think about that, it's just when you identify someone who's your worst employee, because if you're going to have a best, you have to have a worst, regardless of what that worst looks like. Some people are just atrocious. Some people it's just they're just not as good as the other ones. It's just if you wait to move them out of the company, right, it could cost you time, energy, effort, and money. So just know that. So people first, people equals products. So that's number 1. The next thing that we needed to do is we looked at this metric, and basically what it was is we looked at it was called a graduation rate. Now people call this all different things, but what I wanted him to do is we wanted to be able to figure out how many successful graduations that we have divided by how many new patients did we see. And we basically just took the whole, he's been in business for about 3 years or so. And we took the whole, past 3 years, and we looked at how many discharges, successful discharges, they came to the clinic, you discharged them, and then divide it by how many new patients did you guys have? And when they did that, they were less than 10%. Okay. So that means that their throughput on their product is less than 10%. Okay. And if you want to stop this video real quick and go figure out your graduation rate and hop back in, highly recommend that to you. But just know that when we're looking at products and stuff like that, we want to be able to see what's the throughput, and there's a reason for this. Okay. So then what we did is we just kind of mapped out a couple things, and we basically say that, you got evals that are coming in. And ideally, they're either going to run a quick win business where they get a quick win marketing and then they trickle out, and then they have to do another quick win, right? I got to launch a Facebook ad and then it trickles out, or I got to run a workshop. We get some people and then it trickles out. And then eventually what we want to do is create this thing called a goodwill, where we take these evals that are coming in and then we start to build this goodwill, right? 2 becomes 4 and 4 becomes 8 and 8 becomes 16, and then we're off to the races. Eventually, a really good company will have quick win marketing, and then they're also going to have goodwill marketing, and eventually they're going to hit this point here, this success point, where they no longer have to do paid advertisement unless they're bringing on a new provider, they're opening a new location, or they hit their yearly trends, which is winter, summertime, so on and so forth. Okay, so we wanted to set up this system. Okay, so hopefully this is beneficial for you guys. If you guys are finding this video, just make sure you click the button to subscribe. We have tons of videos that we want to give to you guys. But for this, what we want to do is there's an eval that comes in. Now, some of this is going to be elementary for some of you guys, but just bear with me. We got eval to progress note. So we wanted to start to track how many evals we're making it to their progress notes. Okay, now we don't need to do second visit, third, fourth. We don't have to get too granular, but usually progress notes are around visit number 2. So instead, and for us to be able to get to discharge or graduation, we needed to do the next milestone, which we started to look at their progress note rate, right? So we called it the PN rate, right? How many patients are actually making it to the progress note? So one of my mantras was like, get patients to the progress note. So we want to be able to do that. And then once they graduate, they're going to become a past patient, and then they're going to be able to come back in. So what we want to do for eval to progress note, this is where you want to build a relationship. Okay. We want to make sure that there's no bottlenecks here. We want to make sure that all of our evals are able to get to their progress note. And then from progress note to discharge, we need to get a result. This is where we hit that dream outcome. From discharge to past patient, this is where we can get a review, okay? And then from a past patient to eval, we're gonna get a return. And then also, I don't have time for it today, but just know that we set up this system in the middle here. It's called the Practice 25. So ideally what we're doing is we put a group of physicians here as like the nucleus inside the company. This is where we refer all of our active and past patients to. So then that way, if there's any issues or if they're going back to meet their doctors, whatever that looks like for follow-up, or if something comes up and they don't have a doctor we need to refer them to, we have a list of 25 doctors that we're just pumping people into. And then eventually the doctors are going to start to send, past patients are going to start to send, active patients are going to start to send. And then this is where we start to build a referral network, which is really, really cool, right? So once we get the referrals in there, we have relationship, result, review, and return. Because this individual had an issue where we are not getting people a result, right? They're not able to get people to the progress summary, and they were not able to get people to the discharge. That is the biggest constraint that they have on their business right now. Because of that, not only were they not able to get a result, they're not going to be able to get a review, they're not going to be able to get a return, and they're definitely not going to get a referral. So when we kind of look at that graph, he was just kind of running this quick win business where he got a quick win and then eventually it would trickle out. And hey, I got to run something else and trickle out. He wasn't able to get these people to compound because the product wasn't good. He wasn't getting people results. So instead of worrying about getting reviews and getting returns and getting referrals, the one thing that we had to do first is let's just figure out how many of our current patients are booking out their visits and they're actually making it to the progress note. Let's just start there. And then once we figure it out in this progress note, because he started the progress note rate at about like 20%, like it wasn't that we were getting like 10% going to discharge, like we weren't even getting people to the progress note, okay? So now that we're able to get people to the progress note, now what we're able to do is now get them to discharge, okay? So if you're having an issue inside of your clinic where you might have a product issue, at least back-end system, it's usually because most people aren't even graduating. They're coming in, they're falling off the schedule, whatever that looks like. So you have to set up a system. Now, there are other things that we did here. You know, we gave them some of our sheets that we go through and some of the team trainings and stuff. But at the same time, like we have to make sure that people are aware and get to that progress note. Now, I don't want to leave you hanging here because there are other systems that we could look at in a business. Eventually, what's going to happen is, you know, most people have this thing called like a CRM, and that CRM goes to like a sales team or your front desk. And then eventually they're going to convert people into evals. Now, from a CRM standpoint, we want to look at this thing that we are going to have, you know, website is going to funnel into that thing. You guys might have like your SEO or Google ads popping into that thing. So we'll just put Google ads here. Some of you guys are going to have like Facebook or Instagram ads hopping into this thing. Some of you guys might be doing like event or community stuff. So we'll just put community. And then some of you guys are going to be doing, what else could we do? Postcards or some kind of like direct response. I'll just put direct response, right? So all these leads are kind of flowing into the front desk. Eventually, what's going to happen is if you have a really, really good product, you guys are going to get leads coming through into your CRM to eval, progress note, discharge, past patient, return, and then this thing just starts to gather perpetual motion because like leads come in, they become an eval, progress note, discharge, return, refer, review, and then it's just boom, it's just off to the races. And then this is how a lot of clinics should go, and then it should just go really, really fast, and I can't go any faster than that. So that's why we're able to see like some clinic owners come in and after like 5 years they have 6 locations because this machine just starts to get built. And you know, using the word machine is okay, right? I'm okay with saying the word machine because, you know, we are trying to build up a predictable system to get patient results, not to pump patients through so you can make more money, right? So when we're looking at this thing, eventually what's going to happen is you will start to see constraints. Might be a front office constraint. You guys might have patient drop-offs before progress note. You guys might not be able to get people to graduation or discharge. For whatever reason, one of your marketing systems might not be working anymore. And, eventually what's going to happen is you might have like a people constraint, right? You can't hire enough people. Eventually you might have a real estate issue where you can't find enough space, right? There's other issues that might pop up. So what happens is people will be like, well, maybe we just need to change our marketing. And they start changing their marketing and they start to change their ad spend and they just keep hitting the constraint, right? Their constraint right now has nothing to do with marketing, it's sales, right? We got to train our front office on sales. And once we remove that constraint, so we could come in here and now our front office is trained, right? We do a lot of sales trainings with our front office teams. Now we could flow again. And then eventually what's going to happen is you'll hit another constraint. And then that other constraint shows up and it's just like, well, how do we remove this constraint as quickly as possible to get this thing flowing again? So as an owner, the biggest thing that we need to understand and we need to be aware of on a monthly, quarterly, or even annual basis is identifying what constraints in our business do we have. Because if you're over 5 years in business, the majority of your new patients should be coming from reviews, referrals, returns, right? So the sooner we can get you there, the sooner we can get you out of like Facebook ads, Instagram, and stuff like that to grow your business, right? We're just going to use that stuff to be able to fill the schedule when we have like a yearly trend, right? Back to school, winter's coming, deep in the summertime, so on and so forth, or when you hire a new provider or open a new location. So hopefully you guys found this video informative. I'll see you in the next one.